She is among the greatest fears of the free folk of Middle-earth, possibly the most powerful, formidable, and horrific primordial darkness that the world has ever known, spawning from the discord ensued by Melkor. Today on Lord of the Rings, we shall be covering the complete life of the monster that is known as Ungoliant, the distant mother of Shelob and the mother of all spiders in Middle-earth. Ungoliant was a primordial darkness, largely speculated to be the pure embodiment of the discord of Melkor, like Tom Bombadil was theorized and hypothesized to be the embodiment of Eru Ilúvatar's tune that he used along with the Ainur in order to create the world in Arda. Ungoliant was a primordial being taking the form of a gigantic monstrous spider. She was initially an ally of the fallen Valar Melkor, later known as the Black Tyrant Morgoth in Aman, and for a short time in Middle-earth as well. She was a distant ancestor of the spider Shelob that would come to fight Frodo and Samwise Gamgee in the Third Age, and the oldest and first giant spider of Arda, as well as the most formidable, innately powerful, and large. The true origin of Ungoliant was unknown, even to the likes of their Valar. It is said that she arose from the darkness itself that lay about Arda, and was once an ally of Melkor, when he looked down upon the world with envy. Considering that the Ainur passed through the void while venturing from the timeless halls to Arda, it is possible she was simply a very powerful Maya in the form of a spider, or a pure embodiment and being hailing from the void itself. Or possibly, as many have theorized, however I have dismissed this theory previously, that she is the embodiment of the discord inside by Melkor, then he uses during the music of the Ainur that created the world. She was the unlight abomination of the world. When Melkor was defeated and imprisoned by the Lords of the West and the Valar after the first elves awoke in Cuivillian, Ungoliant escaped the attacks and assaults of the Council of the Valar and the Hunters of Orome, and fled to the southern part of Aman. There, in a ravine south of the mountain Hyarmantir, she established her dark abode, a cave shrouded in shadow, and took the physical embodiment form of a monstrous spider, and craved and sucked up all of the light she could find, feasting and sustaining her life with the insatiable hunger that grew with every meal. After each feeding, she spun dark webs of gloom that strangled all passing light, and made her hunger grow even bigger. Her hunger eventually would be her undoing, however. In this research that I conducted, I came to the realization that Ungoliant, the monstrous spider, was very akin to Darth Nihilus from the Star Wars channel and the Star Wars galaxy. If you wish to learn more about the Star Wars universe and its vast and expansive archives by downloading more information onto your database, check out my other channel known as Star Wars Brainbusters for more in-depth Star Wars lore. Anyway, continuing on with this monstrous spider's complete story. Eventually, Melkor the Fallen Vanir sought out Ungoliant in order to exact his revenge against the Valar and the Elves, who originally had overthrown him and imprisoned him for 3 ages long. He came to her in Avatar and told her of his plans and schemes to destroy the 2 trees. Though she was temporarily greeted by Melkor's plan for her to drink in the light and bathe in the light and sustenance of the 2 trees of Valinor, she feared the power of the Valar Melkor and was hesitant to accompany him. To mollify her, Melkor offered to satiate her hunger with whatever she desired she wished if she would to aid him in his struggle. She agreed, and they came shortly thereafter to Ezalhar, where she drained the trees of their sap after Melkor impaled them with his black spear. Melkor, utilizing his black spear, the blood of the 2 trees poured forth in the form of sap. Ungoliant then proceeded to bathe in the blood gushing from the wounds Melkor induced onto the 2 trees, sustaining her, poisoning them, and drank the wells of Varda dry. The Unlight protruded by Ungoliant stymied the pursuit of Orome and Tulkas, two of the Valar, and Melkor escaped to Middle-earth with her. However, her consumption of the power of the trees and the wells that provided the current source of light for the world caused her to swell to a size and shape so vast and hideous that even Melkor, in all his omnipotent energy and power, began to grow afraid of her immense dark malice. When they arrived in Lamoth, in the land of Middle-earth, Melkor, now known as the Dark Foe Morgoth, renamed by the Elves, hoped to escape the ruins of Angband, where the remnants of his forces awaited him, and lead his next crusade against Middle-earth and the Valar. His intending goal in order to overthrow Eru Ilúvatar himself and steal the flame imperishable, so he could become an omnipotent entity and become truly all-powerful, become the malevolent god of Tolkien's works, if he had succeeded. Suspecting that he intended to leave his promise to her unfulfilled, Ungoliant instantly demanded the gems that Morgoth had stolen from Formenos before they could reach Angband, in order so that the Valar would not betray her like many others had done in the past. She then demanded that Morgoth surrendered the Silmarils after devouring the lesser gems, and grew to an even more monstrous size, so that Morgoth, in all his glory, was about the size of possibly one of her teeth, or at the very least, one of her enormous tusks that emanated from her mouth. She demanded that Morgoth surrender to her the Silmarils, so she can bathe and sustain her life with the last light that would remain. Constructed by Fëanor, however, Morgoth desired these gems. Morgoth refused, and then she attacked him. Weaving her dark webs, she attempted to enmesh him in her nets and take the Silmarils by force, understanding that if she was able to defeat the most powerful of the Valar, then all beings, even Eru Ilúvatar himself, would grow to be uncertain of their ability and capability to defeat her. Morgoth gave out a terrible cry of immeasurable agony as she began to attack, which was heard by the Balrogs hibernating under the ruins of Angmar. They awoke and immediately rushed to the aid of their lord, then the Dark Tyrant. They were described as a running tempest of fire, unwavering, not caring what they ran through or what they left to ruin before they got rid of their master. Tearing apart Ungoliant's formidable webbing with their fiery whips and forcing her to break off her attack, she fled. The Balrogs prepared to pursue and destroy her, but they were checked by Morgoth, who ordered them to return with him to Angband, his new fortress. Ungoliant's attack on Morgoth left an echoing scream ever after on the land, stained into it, giving the area the name Lamoth, where it was now said that any clamour would echo back from the surrounding hills with his scream. Driven off by the Balrogs, Ungoliant went to the Nantgothonleb, where she bred with the great spiders of Arda that dwelt there, increasing the terror and innate power of her kind. Such spiders would eventually breed to Shelob, with Shelob being a direct descendant of the formidable Ungoliant. The creatures that later infested the area were her surviving offspring and descendants, including Shelob, who dwelt from the second and the third ages onwards in the borders of Mordor as her last surviving child. It is said that Ungoliant, in all her unsatiable hunger, ultimately perished at her own hands, when, in her ever-growing hunger that continued to augment, she eventually devoured herself, feeding on her inner darkness and surrendering her life to the power of her hunger. In my opinion, this is the most fitting end that Tolkien has come up for one of his characters, as it truly showed that despite the fact that Ungoliant was able to wrestle with the most powerful, albeit a weakened version of him, Melkor, the Dark Tyrant, and the second most powerful being in Tolkien's works, aside from Eru Ilúvatar himself, shows her immeasurable power. However, Melkor was weakened during this time. Despite this, her power cannot be overstated, and upon drinking from the light of the two trees, she truly became a nigh omnipotent, dark, malevolent presence, similar to Melkor and Sauron in later ages. However, her power would far eclipse Sauron's. In my opinion, this was the perfect end to Ungoliant, as while it is never explicitly stated what happened to her, in my opinion, if Tolkien came to this conclusion, that Ungoliant eventually would be devoured by her own hunger, then in my opinion, I would be okay with that. This death truly marks that Ungoliant, despite all her immeasurable power, could not prolong her hunger, and eventually, like all evils in Middle-earth, succumbed to her inner weaknesses and tragic loss, making her one of the only beings in all of Arda and all of the Legendarium to kill herself and commit suicide. Well, my friends, what did you think of this new installment into the Lord of the Rings? Like I have proceeded to tell you earlier, I have another channel called Star Wars Brainbusters, which I very highly recommend you checking out. It is where we discuss all Star Wars lore and everything related to the galaxy far, far away. This is where I bid you farewell, stewards of Gondor and scholars of Arnor. I hope you are not on the receiving end of one of Ungoliant's deadly, horrifically dangerous webs today.